All right, everybody, thanks for taking the time to join us today on our Zoom call. Today, I'm going to talk about challenge groups and some changes that we're making when it comes to challenge group format. So I guess before I get into that, I want to talk to you a little bit about P90. I don't know if you guys have all had a chance to get your hands on a copy yet, or have prospective P90 customers or whatever. I've got quite a few. I'm super excited about it. At this point, I've done all three of the A workouts, Sweat, Sculpt, and Ab Ripper, and then I did Sculpt B today. So it's great. I mean, it's just awesome. It's like the A workouts they're pretty easy. I mean, for anybody who's done any of our advanced stuff, they're really easy, I would say. And the B workout was a little bit harder. It was a little bit trickier. It was definitely, some stuff on the floor that was kind of moving around, and, it was just a little bit of a step up. And that, I think, is what we really need. I just think this is going to be a really great program. And I'm really excited to take a group of people through it because I just think it's such a great gateway, to fitness and getting more and more people into what we do. And I think the fact that it's branded as a P90 and under Tony, it just positions it differently than when we have, maybe Autumn, who comes in, has a fantastic program, has a program that new people can definitely do, but people don't have the same connection to Autumn, and she doesn't have the same sort of star power that Tony does, and that whole brand has. And so for him to come out with the program, I think is awesome. And so really excited about that. Also, wanted to let you guys know that next Tuesday, we will be having Carl Deichler on the call. We had a conversation with Carl and asked him if he would be willing to come and talk to everybody, and he was. So he will be on the call next week. Need to just play around with this a little bit and make sure that he can call in, because he's not going to be available via video conference. So he'll be on the call. So we'll want to, it's probably going to be here on Zoom. I'll just say that. And we have a limit to the number of people who can be on a Zoom call. That's just the way Zoom works. So be here early. This is my advice for those of you who are always here on the call. Be here early. So let me talk a little bit about challenge groups and a change that we're making and a change you might consider making. I think it kind of depends on how you run challenge groups and how many challenge groups you have, and maybe just how many Facebook friends you have, Facebook groups you're involved with. The challenge groups, and I'm talking about this too because I'm going to make this announcement in a lot of our customer groups, and a lot of you guys were customers first, so you're in those groups and you're going to kind of see this. I want to explain it in further depth than I have in these other groups, so you'll understand what we're doing and why. Challenge groups in concept are awesome. I mean, if you just think about the concept of it, group of people going to start a workout, same day. They're going to go through the whole thing together. They'll bond together. I see Anthony's on the call. It's like, the same concept as a basic training, right? We're all going to start on the same day, and we're all going to graduate together, and we're going to do this and sweat together and do all that stuff. And the idea is great. I mean, the idea is fantastic. The problem we've had from my perspective is that I organize so many that I can't participate in all of them. And so I end up participating in none of them. I got a T25 group now that has been really good. And I believe in part it's been really good because I've been in the group. I did the first couple of weeks of T25 with those people. I've been doing P90 for a while now because I really want to get into that program. But I was able to participate in the group in a really meaningful way. And so I think that made a difference. I also think one of the other things we did for that group that I would recommend you do is to rewrite Beachbody's challenge group content. I think that challenge group content is problematic from my perspective for a number of reasons. The biggest one is just all the sales stuff that's in it. I just think that very quickly gets people thinking this person is just trying to sell me something. when you probably don't have a level of trust you need with people to start marketing to them. And certainly not in the way that is not in your voice, and not, authentic to you. I think it's okay to have some of that stuff in there, but I think you want to push it back, and I think you want to rewrite it so that it's coming from you, telling your story. I have had very little success using the standard challenge group guides that Beachbody has, and I think that's a lot of why. So what I have done, where I have had success with challenge groups, it's been where I'm rewriting the challenge groups. And it's really simple what I do. If anybody wants to see what I've put together, I am happy to share those with you. Just send me an email, dave@thefitclubnetwork.com. I'll shoot them over to you and show you what I've done in the simplest possible terms. Every week there's a post where they're trying to sell something. I take that post out and I move things around, and then on Friday, and then if there's another post that is just not authentic to me, I take that out as well and put something else in there, and it's usually something related to nutrition. And then on Friday, I'm asking people to check in with their why. And so we're always coming back to your why, your why, your why. And I've rewritten the guide for P90X, and I rewrote the guide for T25 for this latest group. And the T25, my P90X groups have always been really good. The T25 group that I'm doing right now has been really good. That's the only thing I did differently. Okay, I was involved with the group a little bit more, but the main thing is I rewrote the posts. And the group's been really strong. Great interaction. And so I think that tells me a couple things. The first thing it tells me is that the challenge group guides from Beachbody need to be tweaked. I think the concept of the challenge group guide is great, but we need to tweak it. It needs to come from you. It needs to be your voice. When I sat down to do the P90X one, I spent a lot of time on it. When I did T25, I think it maybe took me less than an hour to just go through that thing and say, yeah, this post, that's out, that's out, that's out, that's out. Okay, what am I going to put here? And, just started to think like, well, when I was starting out, what did I need help with? And it's really basic stuff like how your body processes sugar and, the normal nutrition stuff that I would regularly talk about. So I think that's my first piece of advice to you. If you're going to be running standard challenge groups, which I think is fine. I don't want to discourage you from doing that despite what I'm going to tell you tonight. Make sure you're posting stuff that's authentic to you and not just something from a document. It's got to be copy paste and personalized. And for those of you guys who are using Hootsuite to upload all the stuff, very tempting to just take that guide, and I've done it. I know it's tempting. I've done it, and just upload it. And I just think the content is not compelling. So that's the first thing. The second thing I learned from this T25 group is that when I am involved with a group, the group does better. They just do better. I'm just there. I'm coaching them. I'm engaged. I'm responding to their posts when they say, my workout today was blah, 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 and I felt blah, blah, blah. I can give them some feedback and go, okay, maybe you should try this. Maybe you should try that. Maybe, what did you eat before? What did you eat after? What did you change? Did you sleep well? All the standard things that I would always talk to people about. And the problem that I have with a lot of the other groups that I coach is that I just cannot be that engaged. I have probably 10 challenge groups that are somewhat active right now. Some of them are just nearing the end. Other ones have just gotten started. I've also got the Fit Club Network Coaches Group. We have a leadership group. I've got a group for the Coach Basics program. I'm involved in other coaches groups as well. People on our team, on other people's teams that we've, people like Mike, Ryan, and Jimmy Nelson, who I'm close to, and we've added each other to our groups to help each other. I get 1 million groups, and it's just lost in the shuffle. And as a result, I'm not giving my customers the service that they really deserve, and certainly not what I feel like I owe them. So we're changing things, and really what we're doing is we're just going back to where we were before. So I want to kind of review how we got here a little bit and give you guys a little bit of history, even though maybe it's a little bit boring. I think some of you will understand why we're going back to where we were. When we first started coaching, we used Team Beachbody's message boards. That became problematic because there were a number of people who viewed anyone who had a pulse on the message boards as being a prospect, even if they were somebody else's customers and they were in an active group and we were working with them. And it was like, it was just massive poaching going on. So we decided we needed to leave Beachbody's message boards and pull people onto our own. And we actually created our own message boards. And we had message boards for several years on the fitclubnetwork.com. And they were great. You know, we had control over them. We didn't have to worry about that anymore. The only people who were poaching our customers were our coaches. And I've always been, okay, if you have a relationship with one of my customers, that's fine. Because what helps you helps me. And so that was a pretty good situation. Then they started to get bombed with spam. I mean, it was crazy. I was spending like an hour a day in the morning. I'd get up and it was like one of the first things I would do is go delete 50 or 60 spam posts, you know, and it was just like, what? Like insane, you know? And so that wasn't going to work for us. So we did that for a little while. We hung with that program for a little while. Then Facebook started groups. And I was like, we got it. We'll start a Facebook group. And it was early in groups. And it was like, how do you do this group? What are there's 3 kinds of groups and what are they? And okay, so there's an open group, which we knew we didn't want an open group because that means anybody can see what's going on in the group and anybody can just join the group. And you have no control over it, basically. And so, you know, spammers or just other people looking to poach customers or whoever could get in there. So we didn't want that. So then we had the choice between closed and secret. And secret is what we always use for our challenge groups now because it allows you to add people and they can actually add themselves by submitting a join request who are not your friends on Facebook. And we didn't do that. Instead, we chose, I'm sorry, I'm just going to bounce back to Facebook real quick and jump out of it so I don't get these messages. Instead, we chose closed for our general coaching group, which means you have to be friends with people in order to add them to the group. Don't recommend this plan of action. What that meant was that we had to ask all of our customers to send us a friend request. Some people wouldn't because they weren't comfortable with that. But what ended up happening is I have a lot of friends who I'm no longer in contact with. Really, they're not part of my warm market because they've gotten involved in our groups and maybe they were in the group for 10 minutes and then just disappeared. And, you know, I'm still technically friends with them on Facebook unless they've unfriended me because I don't really go through and clean out my friends on any consistent basis. And so the problem we now have is we want to go back to the idea where we started, which was that we had one big group. All of our customers would go into this one big group, and it didn't matter what program they were doing. It didn't matter when their start date was. It simply mattered that we were coaching them. And so we had one place where everybody went into and where we could actually interact with people, and it didn't have all these different groups to connect with. I just had one place that I knew I had to keep an eye on. It's a lot like the coaches group. You know, you guys probably noticed that I go into the coaches group every single day. That's just a daily activity for me. When I have my time where I'm logging into Facebook, that's always one of the first things I do is go into the coaching group and see what's going on. I can't do that with every single group. I just don't have the time. So we're going to go back to this process of we had to create a new group. It's a secret group so that people can add a join request without being our friends. We're going to try and take a lot of the people from that other group and roll them into this group. I'm going to go back to all the other people in all these different challenge groups that I've put together over the past couple of years and try to get them to come into the group. And the group dynamics, you know, for those of you who are really only familiar with challenge groups, here's where, you know, here's the pros and cons, I guess. I'll just give you this because I want to explain what we're doing, but I also want to make sure you understand that you have options. You know, we often, you know, like when we do the 7-day training, I think sometimes that is, you know, it's like, okay, well, this is the law and this is what you have to do. It's your business. You can do it anywhere you want. And I would encourage you to do it in a way that works for you. So here's the pros and cons. I'll just get to it. So what's nice about having the big customer groups, I guess the pro of the big customer group is that you get people who first of all, you have them all in one place. That one's pretty obvious. That's the whole reason we're doing it, one of the reasons. The other one that I think is a big benefit is when you have people who are at different start dates. You get this guy who's 45 days into whatever program, and here comes somebody who's brand new, and they get a week in, and they start to go, oh man, I'm so sore, or I can't do this, or my nutrition sucks, or whatever it is that's going on for that person. And then you have this person who's like at day 45 who has just enough experience to start actually coaching that other person and helping them. And that happens. They start coaching each other. And I think it happens more in that environment than it does when everybody's on the same level and they've all started on the same day. Okay, probably the best challenge group I ever did was a P90X3 group that was in January, where we had a lot of new people, but also a lot of people who maybe they hadn't done X3 before because it was new, but they were like veteran challenge group people, and they coached these other people up, and it was great because they just coached each other, and they all bonded together, and they pushed each other really hard, and it was just awesome. I've not been able to recreate that, and I think that's part of it, is that we need to have these people on different levels. So that's one thing that happens that's, I think, a pro, because that second tier person, right, it's their first step to becoming a coach, right? It's the first opportunity they have to help somebody else, and then they start getting, reciprocal thanks and whatnot, and they start to go, maybe this coaching thing is for me. Maybe I could do this. Is it much more involved than what I'm doing already in your group? Not really. I mean, there's more to it than that, but at the end of the day, that's what we do. So that's the first thing. The other thing that happens is when you get people doing different workouts, they start talking to each other, and you get the person who's maybe they're doing P90X3 and it's way over their head, and they can't handle it. And you have somebody else who's doing P90, and that person starts to talk to the P90 person saying, hey, what's it like? And the answer is, it's super manageable. You could do this. And they start to get interested in maybe doing P90. Or you have the person who's vice versa, person doing P90X3, they're doing great, they're killing it, maybe they're even posting pictures, and they're starting to really grow and live. And you have the person who's doing P90 who gets inspired to finish that program so that they can do X3. You have people who are on Shakeology having great results, and people who are skeptics. When you have those two groups of people, and this happens in regular challenge groups as well, but when you have those two groups of people, if you can get the person who's doing Shakeology to start talking about it, how great it is, and this other person who's maybe a skeptic starts to realize that person's not a coach, they have no vested interest in me getting on Shakeology, they just love this thing, and they're talking about all those great results they're having, the second person is far more likely to try Shakeology. So I think that's one of the big benefits that you get when you have one big customer group, is you get this sort of cross-pollination of people at different levels, and it's just, there's more going on. I also think you get from having we've had a couple of other groups. The Insane Ward has been a group we've had for about 3 years now. I don't know how many people, there's 500 people in that group. And we have a few people who are consistently posting. And that's the other thing you get, is you get people who, it becomes a community more than a challenge group. A challenge group is sort of, to me, it starts here and it ends here. A community is a continuum. And that's the other thing that can happen in a group like that, is you build a community. And that's what has happened with that Insane Word group, is it's a community, and we have people, we got people in that group who are doing Body Beast. There's one guy right now, he's doing Body Beast, and he's talking about doing Body Beast, even though it's an insanity group that's just focused on Sean's workouts. This guy moved on and he's doing Body Beast, but he's connected to that community. So he's talking about that workout. I can just guarantee that other people are going to start getting interested in that, because he's a member of this community and has been for like a year and a half, maybe longer actually. His name's Randy Reed. Maybe Randy's been around for a while, and he's like a really trusted member of this community that we've built. So that, I think, is the other benefit. Downsides, people have come to expect challenge groups, I think, is one. They're starting to kind of look for a challenge group, if you will, and expect that there's going to be a challenge group. That may be my perception more than it is our customer's perception, because a lot of times I'm explaining to them what a challenge group is, where I will be transitioning into explaining to them about joining a community. It's a health and fitness community more than a challenge group. Gonna probably get away from that terminology and talk about it more as a community. So I guess, the downside of doing that is, I do think there's value as well to people starting all on the same day. Sometimes that just clicks and it just works, and you can just do it. One of the problems I have with having all these multiple groups, in addition to not even be able to participate in the group, but we generate a lot of content. On a daily basis, I'm let's say in any given week, I have probably 3 videos that would be helpful to somebody in that situation, hopefully, potentially helpful anyway. I have 2 or 3 recipes that people love. And Monica's got content as well. I just can't share that across all these different groups. But if there's only one group, I don't need a challenge group guide anymore that's written by somebody else that doesn't reflect me and doesn't tell my story. I'm just sharing what's going on with my life in this one specific place. So I think that's going to be a lot easier for us. I think it's going to be a better situation for us. And I think it's going to ultimately be better for our customers because they're just going to have better access to us. So that's what we are doing. That's how we are kind of changing or tweaking what we're doing. I'm encouraging the people who are in active groups to stay there and finish and then come over. We'll probably also start some challenge groups out of this. If, for example, we're going to do the Ultimate Reset in November. That's a thing that I think is maybe better done outside of a group. I don't know. We're going to talk about it. We might spin that off into a little challenge group. If we get enough people who are interested in doing one particular thing, we might spin them off into a challenge group. But I think as a general rule, we're going to go back to where we started, and we're just going to build this online community of, support. And I think it's just easier. I think at some point, the 7-day training is going to get tweaked. We've been kind of waiting to update that and tweak it. And this is probably something that, we'll redo as part of that. I don't know when that's going to happen, because we're just about to start the 4th quarter here, and I'm, we got a lot going on. Let's just put it that way. We got a lot going on. If I have time in December, I might do it in December. We'll see. I'd like to get it done before the end of the year, but I don't know that I'm going to be able to do that. Until then, as you're sponsoring new coaches, make sure they understand this, okay? And the other thing that you can do to help your new coaches, and one thing I have been doing for a while now is, when I have new coaches, I tell them, look, you're going to become a coach with the 21-Day Fix Challenge Pack. Let's start a 21-Day Fix group together and do this group together. That has been really productive and has helped people because they get to see what it looks like to form a group. At this point, we'll probably be including people in that group who are, coaches on our team. I can't add everybody to that group for fairly obvious reasons. And if you're going to join the group to be a part of yet another group, so you have something to distract you from daily activities, don't. If you want to be a part of that group because you feel like you need some support on your health and fitness journey and you want to be a part of that community, I would encourage you to join. It's called Coached by Dave and Monica Ward, Coached by Dave and Monica Ward. And if you're in any of our other groups, you'll get a link to that. So it's not a major departure. It's more of a return to what works. I think challenge groups have been tremendously successful. They've helped us to blow up this business. It's just become complicated with the amount of programs that come out. And when we're releasing 2 or 3 new programs a year, it's really tough because, I'm a part of this T25 group, right? But now I have P90 in my hands and I want to be I've done T25. That's great. But I want to be doing P90. And I'm the type of person anyway that I'm rarely doing the same workout for more than a couple of weeks in a row. I just bounce around and do whatever I feel like doing whenever I feel like doing it. I just understand that my body just, I might not get the absolute best results, but as long as I keep working out and I keep doing workouts, I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be healthy. I'm going to be the way I want to be. So that allows me to participate in the group in a different way too, and expose people to a lot of different workouts. Whereas my posts about P90 that go into the T25 group seem really out of place, and they feel out of place, and they just don't feel right. And I don't think the people in the groups are receiving them the right way. So, you know, again, that's another little opportunity for me, a way that I'm maybe a little bit different than you are. You know, you're the type of person who likes to, you know, dig in and, you know, start on day 1 and finish on day 90 and do all 90 days of a program, and you're there with your challengers and you're involved in those groups and you're engaged in those groups and you're not overwhelmed by that whole thing and it's working for you. I would not encourage you to make a big switch that we're going to make. If on the other hand, you're finding that the challenge group concept isn't working for you, and you're finding that it is overwhelming you, and you're finding that you're not being successful organizing challenge groups because maybe you don't have the volume of people. You know, when I start a challenge group, I'm putting at least 10 people in a challenge group, and I'm probably pairing up with another one of our coaches who's going to put, you know, another 5 to 10 people, maybe pairing up with 2 or 3 coaches. So we get a group of 20, 25 people. Group of 20, 25 people works pretty well. A group of 5, I don't think works. I'll just be honest with you. That, you know, I mean, we say that. I'm not seeing any groups that are that small be very successful unless you are completely engaged in the group. And if you're there every day, maybe you can make a small group like that work. But I have not had a lot of success with that. So I want to, you know, give you guys another option. So I think you need to, you know, again, take control of your business. Look at what's happening for you. Look at how challenge groups are working for you or not, and take a look at it. If it's not working, maybe you want to consider a different model. And this is a different model that has worked for us in the past. And, you know, we got away from it, and it worked. That worked for a while too, really well. In fact, the challenge groups have, like I said, been really, really successful. But I'm not where I need to be right now, and I'm mailing it in. I've got a bunch of posts that I put into Hootsuite, and then what did I do? I signed a bunch of people up for a challenge. It's just weak, and it's not how I want to be, and it's not how I want to coach people. It's frankly not very rewarding, other than, you know, Success Club points or whatever. And that's just not how that's not what I signed up for when I got into this business. I signed up to really help people and make an impact, and I feel like this is the best way that I can do it now. So that's the change we're making. Something you should consider. Again, I'm not, you know, strongly advocating that, you know, you should ditch challenge groups. Don't do challenge groups. They don't work. That's not true. It doesn't work for me. And so if it's not working for you, here's another idea. You start a general customer group that you have on Facebook. Treat it like a community. Be there. Be active. Post content. You know, if you can pull content from the individual guides. You know, in some ways it's maybe a little more work, because I can't just put a bunch of automated posts in Hootsuite and let them all go. I'm going to have to be there every day, but that's okay, because I'm there in one way or another anyway. I'm there. I'm on my, you know, my Facebook page posting content. I'm on my regular profile page posting content. I'm finding content on YouTube and wherever. There's no shortage. In my opinion, there's just no shortage of stuff that I can share into these groups. And then I'm communicating with people. I'm connecting with people. People see who I am, and it gives me an opportunity to really be authentic and be connected to them, rather than just a bunch of people in a group who are reading a bunch of automated posts. For me, it's not working anymore. So that's, again, the shift we're going to make. You know, you guys it's your business, and you need to just think about what's working for you, and what isn't, and look at it. If challenge groups are rocking, keep doing them. You know, I mean, if it was working, I wouldn't think about changing it, but it hasn't been working for me, and I want to do better, you know, and I want this to grow in a new way. And so we're going back to an old model. So anyway, that's a bit of an overview of what we are doing. That's also a half an hour of time. Also super excited about the Diamond Retreat. For those of you who are going to be joining us, I see a few of you on the call. Diamond Retreat is going to be awesome. You know, we have Autumn Calabrese coming in, of course. That's going to be cool. have Jimmy Hayes Nelson and Mike Ryan here as guests. I have been feverishly working on that thing to try and give you guys a pretty cool marketing system that, you know, is hopefully pretty plug and play, and will continue to grow and evolve. And I think it's going to be super, super fun. So I'm excited to see everybody there. And on that note, I'm going to close the call. If you guys have questions or you want to take a look at those challenge group guides, send me an email. I'm happy to maybe explain further what's going on, or losing my train of thought here, or give you my thoughts on how maybe you can tweak whatever it is you're doing too. So, all right, with that, I bid you adieu. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks again for your time, and we'll talk to you next week. Oh, and next week on the call, Carl Deichler. So be here early because I have a limited number of spots on the call. It'll be recorded, so don't freak out. If you can't get on, you'll just have to wait for the recording. It takes about an hour, hour and a half, something like that, and I can get it right up. So there we go. That's it for now. Have a great week. Keep working hard.